In what way did Tai Chi change your perception of life and life applications?
Coordination. So, I mean,
It still is.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the concept of my brain works a lot and it doesn't always work with my body. So, I always thought that I was coordinated, but everyone told me I wasn't. So at some point, I felt like I was not coordinated. And so you can no longer kind of make it happen. But Tai Chi, one of the biggest things it allowed me to do was to bring the mind and the body together so that I could be coordinated occasionally when I'm very focused on it. But yeah, so that I would say that that I could have some grace, whereas I don't think I ever moved with grace. Might have been lyrical in my writing, or could be very still, but I could never have movement that would incorporate both. So
I mean, at least you didn't fall off a roof.
I did. I did. So it was very graceful, actually. I missed the barbecue pit, so we were all good.
Yes, it's actually both physical and quite a bit personal as well. I have a smaller body frame, and so therefore my head is a bit heavier. And what happens, I'll show you the side angle. What happens a lot of time is this has a tendency to do this. So I have to remind myself to do this on a regular basis. And number of the postures we've done, especially as far as diaphragm goes, is really building that up so everything sits back, and then your head naturally rests up there, so you don't have to work on putting this up. And that's something that's taken me a long time to get to, and I'm still not 100%. I still have to remind myself on a regular basis. The funniest or unique thing about that is I'm also a very intellectual person, or excuse me, well, analytical is a better word in this scenario. And therefore, I'm thought heavy. And what happens is when I get thought heavy and actionless, it reminds me of my misposture or bad posture. So that this is overtaking without much action. And of course, the vice versa would be if I move too fast without thinking through things, that's too much action, not enough thought. So this posture has actually helped me realize to keep things in balance a lot more. That when I do need to act, I do it with thought. And if I have a thought eating me up, I remind myself, you're getting top heavy, you're not moving. So I start making actions on, okay, you know what, too much here, at least take a first step in one direction. And that has given me a good sense of balance. And from there on, it really goes back into the walk we do with Crane Spreads Wings. Therefore, every step then becomes, the first step initially is just making the movement, taking that leg up off the air while you're resting the other one, and then having very deliberate movements or steps following up afterwards. Now, again, this is both physical posture and also on in life in general. I correlate those quite a bit. That has made such a huge impact on my perception of life and living, and then how I want to live going forward.
I used to thought to go barefoot in the snow, but here we are practicing for hours outside in the snow.
And putting your hand in the ice.
Putting your hand on the ice bucket and keeping it there. There were definitely moments where that was the thing that was interesting, is there was never a time where it's like, we shouldn't do this. It was more of a, how can we get this done? So we always were doing something and pushing limits, and at no point where we were like, we can't do this. It was always a, okay, let's give it a shot, see what happens. So there was never a moment of, we can't do this. There was always moments of, let's try.
I believe it was you. Somebody was driving. I think it might have been you or you. A car stalled in front of in Iowa.
Oh, God.
And that son of a gun was uphill
And we're pushing really hard.
as hard as we could. And
she's like, oh, I should probably put this in neutral. And we're like,
we were gaining ground.
yeah, we were moving. We were looking at both of you like, this car is heavy. Still moving it. And she's like, oh, let me put it in neutral.
That wasn't me, was it?
No, this was
Something that was broke down.
Yeah, but and I don't remember. It might have been you, but you were in the car following.
I think she was following.
I don't remember,
Three of us
but
were in front.
I remember that.
I just remember it was like, this thing is not going to move. And
It was moving.
We did.
It moved a whole lot easier when she threw it in neutral. It's just like, I wonder.
Yeah, I would say, and I've had, multiple students, like my mom took the class and she said this to me. She said, I can't tell you what it did, but it did something. Like it changed my life, but I can't tell you how. I can't put this into words. And I absolutely agree with that. I feel like, yes, it has changed my interactions and my perceptions, my involvements, but it's not something I can, quantify like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I'm in the same boat with that.
I think this was the one we were talking about with metaphors being a language that is surprisingly fruitful. I mean, you're able to make connections through a metaphor that you couldn't make otherwise. And if you're trying to offer an instruction or communicate with someone at work, communicate with someone in your family, being able to speak in a language that is not so technical. Like in class, we would be saying, put your foot at this angle, hold this amount of pressure, look in this direction, breathe at this tempo, all of that. Whereas you can use one metaphor that would incorporate that concept. But beyond that, the technical pieces in it, but then it gives them some sort of motivation, purpose, intent. Because if you get to know your student and you're able, or your colleague or your family member, you're able to tailor that metaphor to them. So it's no longer just the teacup that they're balancing on their knee, it's grandma's teacup. But didn't you guys have hot chocolate? So it's grandma's cup with that hot chocolate she made. You're gonna balance that on your knee and move it. So therefore you're able to communicate, and it changes your perspective in speaking to a student, but it also can allow you to communicate with a friend or to communicate at work.
Going through a form shows that there is a direction, and there's a progression, and there's a goal, and it's all in one. It's not about the journey being the thing, or the end result being the thing. It's about the thing.
It's a cycle.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
It's thing one and thing two from Dr. Seuss.
Rambunctious little weird kids. But seeing something that is worked towards it and then achieved, but
And
can
then
always
more
get better,
Yeah, exactly.
always needs work, is in itself a grand metaphor for, I think, living.
And I'd say what Koss said too, I mean, in terms of a community as well, I think teaching within a group setting is an incredible challenge and an incredible asset, because I certainly learned that I don't teach the same way other folks do, and what seems to be a language that makes sense to me, like we talked about with the metaphor, may or may not make sense to another person. And unless you have, a group, a collective that can build on your strengths and also fill in the places that you need a little filling, then it's a lot less, I don't know, it's just a lot less.
I remember there have been a few classes where T has used an analogy and the students are so young, they just kind of look at him like, what are you talking about?
It's happening more.
Yeah, you can't even say like balance your checkbook anymore. Like no one does that.
Or rolling your window down.
I believe it was Predator. I was actually using an analogy from an amazing film, Predator, with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What's Predator? I mean,
They had no idea.
none. And not even less about Arnold Schwarzenegger. They probably thought he was the governor of California. I mean.
It's like,
I think Kelly used like RoboCop analogy one time, and it went over everyone's head. And afterward, I was like, "Dude, that was an awesome analogy." Nobody got it. Yes, I used Justin Timberlake in Sync's group, or I guess he was in it. Yeah, as an analogy. Yeah, I got to know the audience.
I've used it's like the best analogy in my head, but I don't think everybody agrees with it. It's the frozen chicken in the grocery store.
See, but that's relatable. Most folks know frozen chicken.
Thank you, Jenna, folks. Go home. Thank you.
Much love, folks. Love to family.
Love you. Thank you, Rana.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, later.
Can the camera swivel?
Hey, yeah.
You want to see us? Want to see what we look
Yeah.
like?
Hi guys. What's up, guys?
We're all ready.
Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Definitely.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.